Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. This time, you guys have really sent us down a rabbit hole.
Yeah, looks like we've got quite the mystery on our hands.
We do. I mean, look at this. Notes, articles, even a whole YouTube video. And it's all pointing to, well, a civilization that maybe, possibly, predates our own. Crazy, right?
It is a fascinating collection for sure, and honestly, some of it's pretty compelling stuff, gotta give you that. What really struck me was the themes that kept popping up, these massive, like seriously huge old buildings, all this talk about lost technologies.
Oh, yeah, like we basically forgot more than we know now.
Right, and then there's all this stuff about World's Fairs being these giant cover-ups, plus all those crazy fires that just ripped through cities back in the 1800s.
Like someone was trying to wipe out the evidence.
Almost makes you wonder, doesn't it?
It really does. So, okay, let's start with these buildings. The architecture, you were pointing out how these incredibly detailed, like ornate buildings are all over the place, different cultures, different continents, but they've all got this like really similar style. You even had that comparison of San Francisco's architecture to some European cities. Kind of spooky when you think about it.
Yeah, and it's not even just how they look, you know? A lot of what we got here, these sources, they really question how these things were even built, especially when you look at the official timelines. I mean, think about it. The tech they supposedly had in the 1800s, horses, carts, basic tools.
And they're whipping up the Field Museum in Chicago in like a year.
It makes you wonder.
It really does. Plus, there's that whole thing about missing records, right? Construction plans, diaries from whoever built them, firsthand accounts,
Yeah.
all that stuff's just gone.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
One of the sources even goes so far as to say that the level of craftsmanship, the detail in some of these buildings, it's beyond what we can even do today.
We've got computers and lasers and all that.
Right. It's like almost as if a whole other civilization built them, a civilization that knew a lot more about engineering than we give them credit for.
Yeah.
Maybe even.
Giants. Hold on, hold on. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. We'll get to the giants in a bit. Gotta admit, though, I am kind of picturing walking through a doorway that's 20 feet high. That'd be something.
Yeah.
But before we go there, let's stick with the architecture for a sec. This whole thing about the World's Fairs being used to basically rewrite history,
Yeah.
that's a weird one.
Ah, yeah, the World's Fairs. So we've got these grand exhibitions showing off all the new tech and culture and whatnot, right? Well, your sources, they've got this different take on them. They're saying that some of these structures, the ones they are passing off as these marvels of modern engineering, they were already there. Like the fairs were just a way to introduce them as brand new, maybe to cover up where they really came from.
Sneaky. Right.
And you found that thing about the Crystal Palace exposition. Yeah, that's a good example. So you have this huge glass and iron building in London, built in the mid 1800s. Took them, what, 9 months to build this thing?
That's insane.
And then just a few years later, poof, gone. Taken apart, moved, burned down in a fire.
Convenient.
Very. But what's really interesting to me is all the emphasis on new technologies at these fairs, trains, incubators for babies. It's almost like they were trying to set a new standard, you know, for what people knew, what technology is out there, maybe even repopulating areas after something happened, like some kind of reset button got pushed. Some of your sources even say that.
Okay, so we've got these amazing buildings. Nobody knows for sure who built them, maybe connected to these World's Fairs that are twisting history around. And then on top of all that, we've got the great fires of the 1800s, cities
Yeah.
all over the place just going up in smoke. And your sources are saying maybe it wasn't all accidental.
Right. I mean, you look at the number of fires, how intense they were. It is a bit suspicious. Some of your sources suggest they were intentionally set to get rid of evidence. Some even say they used, get this, directed energy weapons, DEWs.
Sounds like a sci-fi movie.
I know, right? But then you read about what happened in Chicago, in Jacksonville. People talking about things bursting into flames from a distance. You start to think, huh, maybe.
Maybe there's something to it. And then there's the whole thing with evidence disappearing in these fires, especially
Yeah.
financial records. One source even compared it to what happened after 9/11. It's kind of creepy when you think about it.
It definitely raises some questions, like who'd want to get rid of all that information and what were they trying to hide? And when you tie it back to the buildings, the World's Fairs, it all starts to get a bit, well, unsettling, wouldn't you say?
Wow.
It's like someone wanted to just wipe the board clean and start over. New history, new everything.
And part of that new history, at least according to what we've got here, involves making sure certain technologies just disappear.
Hmm.
Stuff that maybe challenged the folks in charge. or threatened them somehow.
Yeah, this idea of technology being suppressed, it comes up a lot in these alternative history things, like all this stuff about airships, for example.
Oh, yeah. So we're not just talking about hot air balloons here, right?
Okay.
We're talking about real airships,
Mm.
like a legit way to get around before airplanes even took off.
Exactly. And some of these descriptions, I mean, wow. Spacious cabins, luxurious, like think cruise ship in the sky. There's even talk of these things docking on top of buildings like the Empire State Building.
Can you imagine just pulling up to your penthouse in an airship?
Some sources go even further, though. They say the Hindenburg, the big disaster, they think it was intentional, a way to make people scared of airships so they'd stick with airplanes.
Which, were easier to control, I guess. But
Yeah.
still,
It's pretty wild, right?
it makes you think, like, why though? If these technologies were so good, so easy to use, why get rid of them?
Well, one of the sources gets into this whole free energy thing. They're saying that there was tech based on the ether, this like theoretical energy field that's everywhere, and it could have powered everything. Clean, unlimited energy.
Which, of course, would put a dent in someone's profits, right?
That's the idea. A lot of these theories, they come back to this idea that there are powerful people who want to keep us dependent on them, on their systems. So whether it's free energy or these crazy advanced ways to travel or who knows what else, it all gets buried.
So, okay, let's recap for a sec. We've got buildings that nobody really knows how or when they were built, maybe tied to these World's Fairs that are messing with our timeline. We've got fires wiping out evidence. And we've got this whole thing about incredible tech just vanishing. What's the thing that really stands out to YU in all of this?
I gotta say, it's how it all connects. You start with these pieces and they seem so different, but then they start to fit together. It's like they're telling a story that's different from what we've always been told, a story about what really happened.
It's like you're looking at this normal painting,
Yeah.
right? And then you realize there's a whole other painting underneath.
Right. And a lot of what's in your sources here, it's all about questioning what we've been told, looking for those cracks in the story. One of them even compares it to, like, a magic trick. The magician's all flashy, but the real action's happening somewhere else.
So if we're all living in this illusion, this big magic trick, how do we even start to figure out what's real?
Well, your sources, they have some ideas. Look at the evidence, they say. Get different perspectives. Don't just take things at face value, even if it's coming from someone who seems like they know what they're talking about.
So not just believing everything these alternative history folks are saying, but using it as a starting point. Like, we could look at the buildings in our own city, right?
Right.
Do some digging, see if the official stories about how old they are, who built them, see if it all adds up.
Exactly. Or look into the World's Fairs. Find old photos, read those old documents, see what they called them, how they talked about them. You could even, I know this sounds out there, but you could look into those giant stories, airships, see what people wrote back then, what evidence they had, maybe even look for, I don't know, modern day versions of those things.
Like someone handed us this giant puzzle, right? But we got to put it together ourselves. We can't just rely on the picture on the box.
That's a great way to put it.
It's exciting, but kind of scary too,
Oh, absolutely. It's a whole journey. You got to be willing to ask questions, go exploring, and accept that maybe things aren't as simple as we thought.
And it's not even just about the past, right? It's about right now. If someone's been messing with history, hiding technology, well, they're probably still doing stuff like that today, aren't they? Controlling information. It's more important than ever to understand how that works.
Absolutely. And what you're seeing in these sources, it's all about taking back control, learning to think for yourself, question authority, figure out your own way of understanding the world.
So, big question here. Do we actually have proof of this other civilization, this lost history? Or is it all just a bunch of cool stories? What do you think?
I think your sources would say that's for you to decide. They've laid out the evidence, shown you where things don't quite add up. Now it's your turn to make up your mind.
They're not giving us all the answers, but they're giving us the tools to find our own, They're teaching us how to think about history differently, to question things, and maybe even see things from a whole new angle.
And maybe that's the most important thing here. Learning to question, finding different viewpoints, being careful about what we believe, especially in a world where everyone's trying to tell us what to think.
Because when information is power, knowing how to think for yourself, how to see through the BS, that's more important than ever, right? It's like, we got this map, right? But it leads to, like, buried treasure or maybe just a really good story. Who knows?
And think about it, even if we don't buy into all of it, like the giants and stuff,
Yeah.
It makes you think, doesn't it, about what else is out there, what we might have missed.
Right, like maybe those stories about giants aren't so crazy after all. Or maybe they are, but it makes you realize we don't know everything. There's a whole lot of stuff out there we haven't even thought about.
It's that curiosity, that sense of wonder.
Yeah.
That's what your sources are trying to get at, I think. They're not just dropping info on us. They're saying, hey, come along with us. Let's figure this out together.
So after all this,
Mm-hmm.
what do you think? Lost civilization, hidden history.
Yeah.
Is there something to it, or is that all just a fun theory?
I think. And your sources would probably agree. It's up to each of us to decide. Look at what they've given us, the evidence, the things that don't make sense, and then see what you come up with.
They're not handing us all the answers on a silver platter, that's for sure. But they are giving us a new way to look at things, a new way to think about history, about what we believe.
And that's huge, especially these days when everyone's got an agenda trying to tell us what's true.
Because let's face it, if we don't learn how to think for ourselves, how to question things, well, we're letting other people decide what we believe, right?
That's exactly it.
So even if we don't walk away from this convinced that giants built the pyramids or whatever, we're walking away with something even more valuable, the ability to think critically, to question, to do our own research.
And to be open to the possibility that
Mm-hmm.
maybe, just maybe,
Yeah.
there's more to the world than meets the eye.
And on that note, we're going to wrap things up for today. But hey, if this deep dive got your wheels turning, if it made you question a few things, well then, our job here is done. Keep exploring, keep asking questions, and who knows what you might find.
The truth is out there, somewhere.
Until next time, folks.